less than an hour ago, we got a notification that gear is meant to be zipped up and cars gassed up to go. What's going on?
We're getting ready to roll out the door. We had a little bit of awareness about this yesterday through some conversations that it could possibly happen. And once we get the official activation order, like we received this afternoon, our goal is to be on the road heading to our destination within 4 hours. And we're coming up on that time right now and getting ready to roll out.
Do you know exactly where you'll be ending up once you get into Texas?
We're not 100% sure where we're going to end up. Our initial reporting location is to a staging area in San Antonio. So we will arrive there by tomorrow evening, and then we'll check in with the leadership in San Antonio and find out what area they're going to assign us to go working.
We have it in the press release, but just for our sake, do you mind saying how many units, how many people, what kind of equipment, what teams, things of that nature?
Sure. We will be leaving here with 5 big rigs worth of equipment, multiple pickup trucks, trailers with different types of boats and water vehicles. We have ATVs and a total personnel count right around 45, counting rescue specialists, canine handlers, logistics team members, search specialists. We have hazmat personnel with us. Anything that we might possibly need when we're out there in the field, we're equipped to handle that and be self-sufficient once we arrive at our work location.
What specifically have you seen in this incident that has led for those certain personnel? For example, you have a structural engineer going with you. What specifically did you see that requires something like that? Can you kind of give us an A to B kind of toggle for who and why?
Sure. Anytime we go on a deployment, we always travel with a structural engineer, because whether it's an earthquake or some type of a mudslide or a water situation like we're going to in this case, there's destruction that's occurred to buildings, infrastructure, things like that. And before we put our people inside those structures to search for victims or to assess for structural integrity, the structural engineers play a huge role in ensuring that that building is safe for us to enter, safe for our canines to enter. They're an important part of our team as well. So the structural engineers play a big role in what we do.
Going from the background to what you'll see when you get there, what are you expecting to see?
Well, you know, we've seen the same images on the news I think that all of you guys have seen. There's a wide area of devastation. We've been told today that they're looking at a 60-mile stretch of area that needs to be searched, and when we get there we're going to find structures that have been destroyed, a lot of debris, things that get caught up in the flow of the water, uprooted trees, vehicles, signs, anything that you can imagine, things that once existed inside people's homes and businesses are now scattered throughout the landscape. And so we'll be dealing with that as we try to safely work our way through and, you know, looking for damage to buildings and what we can do to help in those areas, search and rescue of any victims, and then unfortunately body recovery will probably be a part of what we end up doing as well.
You guys are going there to make a difference. Of course, you're human. What has been the emotional conversation from you, some of your men? What has been some of the things you can share with us about just the emotional pull of what you've seen, as you mentioned, on TV?
Yeah, these are difficult situations, no doubt, and we know we're prepared to go into that. In our day jobs, most of us are in the fire service. We have some civilians on the team in certain different roles, but in the fire service, I think we have a pretty decent amount of exposure, unfortunately, to these kind of things. A lot of times on a USAR deployment, it's on a bigger scale, but typically these are probably not the first time we've seen stuff like that. It's just usually at a bigger magnitude in these events. And so we will talk about that. We will have peer support available to our members, and we will absolutely spend the time while we're in transit, and then once we arrive at the location, you know, preparing our folks for what they're going to see and how to have coping mechanisms to deal with that. It's one of the more difficult parts of what we do.
How do you prepare for something of that magnitude, devastation of that magnitude?
It's honestly, it is hard to prepare for, and I can tell you from previous other deployments that I've been on, and you can see the images on TV and you can, you know, read and prepare for it as much as possible, but sometimes when you finally get there and put boots on the ground and you see the magnitude of the devastation, it kind of sets you back sometimes, and you need to take it all in. But usually, you know, we work with a great team of professionals and we rely on each other for support. We talk about the things that we see. If somebody's struggling, we pick each other up. Again, like I mentioned, we have those peer support and mental health resources available to us for, you know, some of the things that we end up seeing and doing, and we just lean on each other. I think that's probably the best thing. It's really very similar to what we do here locally in our fire service careers, and again, it's just on a different magnitude here. One of the parts about our team that's really something that I enjoy is that the team is made up of folks from all the different fire agencies here in town, and we get to work with people that we maybe don't know super well, or we don't work with necessarily on a daily basis, but we still come from that same background and we have those shared experiences. And, you know, situations like this just really kind of bring us all closer together.
I was going to ask, how do you guys select the men and women that are going to this deployment? Are they all volunteers, or do you guys hand select the team members that are going?
That's a great question. So all of us do volunteer to be a part of the task force, and there's certain requirements that you have to meet in order to be even considered for a position. And some of those are, usually we choose most of our rescuers and our hazmat specialists and our technical folks from the fire departments because they possess a lot of that experience already and the ongoing training that is required. Even though we might only deploy once every 6, 12, or 24 months, we're still touching that equipment and doing those things in our day jobs, right? So it makes it a little easier to come over here and be ready to do that. And then it's a competitive process. There's usually maybe once a year the team recruits for new members, and we'll fill holes based on what positions we have available. And then we have about 210 people that are on the team in total, and we have a monthly rotation, and depending on where you may fall in the rotation, kind of determines whether or not it's your turn to deploy when the opportunity comes. And so it's kind of a little bit of a lottery, but we have 210 folks that stay trained and ready in the various disciplines to respond when called upon.
A couple more questions. Personal safety for firefighters is a big topic after what happened in Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the same situation you
Sure.
guys run into, but certainly for firefighters and families of firefighters, it's something that's in the back of their mind. What's being done, or what do you know of your safety windows like that? What's being done to restrict that?
Well, we always have those things as firefighters in the back of our mind, and something like what happened in Coeur d'Alene certainly brings that to the forefront again. We are constantly aware of our surroundings and reminding ourselves of those hazards that are hard to anticipate sometimes, but we do keep them in our minds at all times. When we go on these FEMA deployments, almost every time we have some sort of a law enforcement component that's attached with us, and usually those are federal resources either from the Border Patrol or from U.S. Customs. DEA agents have worked with us in the past, and so typically when we're out there in the field, we will have a law enforcement component that is there with us just in case those things come up. And on deployments, we've had a few things that have come up, usually minor incidents. Sometimes people are not always thrilled that we're there in their backyard providing support, but usually once we explain, hey, this is what we're here to do. We're not here to kick people out of their homes. We're not here to force people to do things they don't want to do. We're here to help with the recovery, help search for victims and protect property, and usually that's pretty effective in de-escalating those situations.
It's one of those situations, but based upon, as you mentioned, these previous circumstances we've been out there, when do you expect to be back?
That's a good question, and it's one that we really don't have a good answer to at this point. When we go out the door for a deployment, we are basically saying right off the bat, we're good for up to 2 weeks. That's the commitment that we make to the team when we roll out. 14 days is our expected duration of deployment. It can go longer, and it has on our recent deployment when we went to Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton back on the East Coast in last November or September, I think it was. We ended up staying longer, and that's something that's just part of the job. We don't know what the situation is going to bring. Another storm could hit. We could get relocated to a different incident, so kind of got to roll with the punches on those.
My last question, there's going to be family members, including men and women behind you that are getting ready, that are going to be watching the news this evening or even watching live right now. They're going to be worried about the safety of their family members who will be going out there. You are the leader that's sending them out there, and you'll be in charge of them. So anything you want to say to the families that are watching you right now, who will be essentially in charge of their family?
Sure. Yeah, to the family members that are at home watching this on TV, we take the health and safety of your loved ones in the highest regard, and I will do everything within my power and the power of the USAR system and the rest of the teammates behind me here to make sure that everyone comes back in the same condition that they left. We know we're going out there to potentially get into some dangerous situations. We're trained and prepared for it, and we'll be on the lookout to make sure everybody gets home safe.
Good luck.
Okay, thank you guys. Anything else?
Anything else you want to add?
Not that I can think of. We appreciate your guys' support and putting some good press out there for us, and we'll go out there and do our best to represent not only the state of Nevada, but all the departments that contribute to this team, the different agencies, and we'll go out there and do good work, make you guys proud.
Good luck. start us off today, spell your name and your title, just so we have that on the record.
Sure, it's Brian O'Neill, BRIAN, I'm a Deputy Fire Chief and Emergency Manager for Clark County.
And then go ahead and just kind of walk us through the process from start to finish, how you activate one.
Sure, so we get activated through a call from the FEMA's response division. So the National Response System that has the 28 task forces gives us a call, let us know where we're at on the list. Earlier today, we were identified as the third team in rotation, and Texas was requesting 3 additional teams. So about an hour after that preliminary call, we got what's called an activation order, where the FEMA response branch activates the task force as a team and puts us on the clock for response out into Texas. They did have the expectation for us that we would respond within 4 hours to that initial call, and that we would be operational before the end of tomorrow night. So we had already mapped, we knew the approximate location that we were going. We were expecting about a 19-hour drive into the San Antonio area. And so we were expecting to leave tonight and be on the ground tomorrow.
Did FEMA tell you guys what you can expect or how severe the damage is over there?
We have some idea of what to expect. We know that there is about 60 miles of debris from where this river surged and has left debris all over the riverbanks. And so we're expecting to have a significant amount of effort sifting through that debris and making sure that before the area is cleaned up that we've identified all the victims of this flooding. So from the time that they leave here, they're in constant communication with that response branch from FEMA. Every 2 hours they call in and provide updates on their location to provide the best information of what time they'll arrive. And it's frequent that they would get a change of their location where they're responding to on their trip. So the plan is somewhat fluid, and they could still be diverted on the way there.
Do you know what their duties will be or anything like that once they get on the team?
We do expect that they will be sifting through the debris manually using just search procedures. They are bringing both live find and human remains detection canines. So, and they are bringing all of their boats for water rescue. So if there's any change to the weather or if the situation on the ground changes, they are prepared for anything that they could be asked to do, which includes both finding victims, rescuing survivors, or performing additional rescues.
We're hearing that many of these people are volunteers. These are people that volunteer to be up to this. Can you speak to that and what it means for you personally to see these men and women that are not just being called to it, they're raising their hand?
Yeah, definitely. We do maintain a roster of about 220 individuals on this team. So each of the fire departments contributes to the personnel that are here. For this deployment, only 47 individuals got to go. They're carrying the hope of Nevada that we can go out there and make a difference and identify some of the survivors that are still there. But they all have to volunteer for this assignment. It's not something that we tell them to do or mandate anyone to do. They all raise their hand to go out, and I think we all want to respond to the worst disasters that we see, and they are the privileged ones that get to respond to another community's disaster.
Once to go out there, the work that they're going to do isn't all flashy. Sometimes it's about moving things from one truck to another truck and things like that. And you speak to kind of the range of activities these men and women will be doing.
Yeah. So some of the activities they may be doing is manually sifting through piles of debris. They might be breaking up dirt using heavier equipment, using listening tools to search through damaged structures. So structures that have been moved off their foundations, partially collapsed, that are unstable. They do have the canines that they can use, and they also have advanced listening equipment that they can use to identify victims in the rubble. And so we do expect that they'll be doing some searches of damaged communities. And when they deploy, the expectation is that they're self-sufficient, that we're not bringing any additional burden to the community there that suffered so much. And so this team is self-sufficient for the next 72 hours. They're bringing all their food and water, their shower facilities they set up their bathroom facilities they set up with them, and they're 100% independent. They'll stage in a little mini city that they'll create on the way there and respond to the emergency from there.
It's not every day that we get to hear about the Clark County Emergency Management Team. Why is the Clark County Emergency Management Team important?
Well, I mean, we do incredible work for the county. We organize all the divisions of the county in the response to disasters. We field requests from the state and from the federal government, deploying the county's resources where we can and where we can make a difference. This is just one of the examples of our coordination with the state and with the federal government of how we can deploy our local responders to make a difference outside of our community.
We give the same question to the task force chief. I want to give it to you as well. There are family members of those men and women that are planning to head out there watching the news right now live, and will be watching it later on this evening. What is the message that you have for those family members that they won't be able to see their brothers, sons, fathers, sisters, mothers for the next weeks, possibly month? What is your message to them? Are they in good hands?
Yeah, they're in good hands. They're with one of the most highly trained and professional teams that we could ever assemble. This is an interagency team, so the task force leader is from the city of Las Vegas, but he has all the confidence of all of us in Clark County and across the entire southern Nevada rescue community. And we do maintain regular communication with the families, so they should be expecting some updates from the team. But just know that these are the best individuals that we can send. All right, thank you.